Hi y'all, Austin back with Our World Media, back with another Walt Longmire review. Stick around to the end to hear a special announcement. But again, this is a review of the second Walt Longmire novel, which is Death Without Company. Kind of the overview of this story is, there is a supposed murder that takes place at an elderly home. Walt's, you know, predecessor, whatever. I think I'm using the term correct. His predecessor, Lucius, uh, claims that this lady was murdered. This lady was murdered, and the staff are trying to tell him no, she wasn't. And Walt kind of figures out, why, why he thinks so, and all this, and delves. We find out more about Lucius and his past, and he kind of everything, that's happened. And so, Walt takes us up and to try to figure out if she was murdered or not. And that's kind of the summary in about 45 seconds or so, without trying to give anything away for this book. We do get to meet a new character in this book, Santiago. I really like him. He's not my favorite. Obviously, my favorite character's got to be Henry Standing Bear. And don't worry, if you're a fan of Henry Standing Bear, he does make a return in this book. But we get our usual cast of characters. We get Walt, we get Vic, we get Henry, we get just the whole group. We get everybody in this, and we do get to see a little bit more of the scenery there in Nebraska County. We get to venture outside of town and whatnot, and kind of get to see just the landscape, and as well get to see Walt, interact with the local community, people on the reservation and whatnot. And again, we do get to find out some past history about this town and this county and stuff that was kind of swept under the rug, if you will. There's stuff that comes back from the past that we find out more and more. And I think that's what this novel does a good, job of. It makes me want to find out more about the past, of this county. Obviously, it's a fictional county, fictional town. But I'm left wanting to find out more, and I think that's what what Mr. Johnson wanted to do in this book, was he wanted to give us this mystery. Was she murdered? Was she not? And give us the more background on these. I want to say they start off, Lucius kind of starts off as a minor character, but as I've read more in this series, he kind of becomes more prominent, and we get to see more of him. And I just kind of find him funny in a way because, my past job and where I work now, I work with people, I work with a gentleman that's in his 80s, and he's kind of cranky, and he kind of just says stuff that he probably shouldn't say. And, some people find it, whatever, how they find it, I find it hilarious, because they think, that they can just say whatever they want to say. And I think that's just kind of how Lucius is. He's set in his ways, But again, we do get to see more of, the characters. Like I said, we get to meet a new character in the story, Santiago, who is trying to become a deputy for the county, and we get to see him and kind of see a little bit, not a whole lot of him. We get introduced enough and get enough information from him, in the story to kind of realize a couple things. But again, this story, while their references are not meant for someone my age in my mid-20s to necessarily get, which is probably the only, and I don't even say it's a nitpick. I'm not someone that this is, necessarily, directed at as far as the references go. They are ones that go over my head. There's a couple that I had to, look up to kind of get some clarification on by what he meant. But again, that is a nitpick. This is definitely a novel in a series, and right now, I'll be honest with you, I'm reading book 10 right now. But as the series goes on, this is definitely a group that I have grown to, love reading about and just kind of seeing their interactions with each other. But again, book 2 definitely is a good book. I do recommend it if you have not read it. Definitely read the first book. Otherwise, you're kind of going to find out some stuff that happens in the first book. And we see that happen here. And that's another thing that I really enjoy is, these books, they happen simultaneously. I mean, they are one right after another. There's not a huge gap necessarily. They're not kind of one-off stories. There is a continuity to these stories, which I definitely enjoyed, where book one ended off, book two kind of picked back up. And we delve a little bit more into, the end of book one and kind of see, what's going on with Walt and whatnot, and kind of, how he's dealing and handling with, the end of book one without having to go too much into it again, because I don't want to spoil it. Because this is a mystery book, while a good part of this book is just, everyday life, just kind of seeing Walt, like I said, interact with the community, with, his deputies, with, just everybody around. So we do get the slice of life, just kind of see his day to day. But something pops up, this mystery pops up, and we see how that interrupts his day to day and all this. And I will say, Mr. Longmire is a very unfortunate sheriff. He's very good at what he does, but he just seems to keep having these cases dropped on his lap, or thrust upon him, if you will. But again, I highly did enjoy this. This was not my favorite one that I've read thus far, but it is a good step. It's a good stepping stone, further into the series. Like I said, the first book, we kind of just get to know the characters. The second book, Mr. Johnson kind of spreads out. We get to meet a few more characters and whatnot. And I really enjoy that. It's not just book one, these are, the set of characters. And this is, who you're going to have for the rest of the series. We're kind of, okay, these are the main core characters. And then the next book, we're going to throw a few more characters in there. We're going to bring some minor characters up and kind of make them, give them some background and whatnot, which I really enjoy because, like I said, thus far, going from book one, book two, we're meeting more of the community and more people, and we are getting to see just how, everybody knows everybody. And as someone who grew up spent quite a few years in a very small town, I really do appreciate that, because in a very small town, you can't do something without everybody knowing. I mean, you can't go through a breakup or a divorce. You can't get change jobs, get a promotion. You can't have, something small like that happen and the whole town not know. But then you have, hey, there's a possible murder and the whole town just instantly knows. And I think Mr. Johnson does a great job in this series, is just, giving us that small town, slice of life, just letting us, see, like I said, how this town, just incorporates everything into it and just reacts. And again, I know I keep saying, we get to see the slice of life and pie, and we get to see all these little, gears happening, and I really do enjoy that, because all these small gears help the machine, work and move along, if you will. Trying to use some analogies there. I'm not sure if they're going to land or stick, but you know what? That's what I'm going to go with. Again, I do recommend this series thus far. Again, I'm not going to lie, I'm on the 10th book in the series, and I started this series back in, September of last year, so I am enjoying them quite a bit. But again, that is going to be, my review of this is, go out there, read these books, get these books. But the announcement that I'm just kind of throwing in here is going to be, I have been in talks with Mr. Johnson about possibly coming on the channel and doing like a little interview. And he has gracefully accepted my invitation, and I cannot wait to talk to him and get some questions that I have answered and whatnot. Obviously, like I said, I'm only 10 books into the series. I believe book 19 or 20 is coming out here in a couple months. So I'm not gonna, be able to read all these books by, the time the next book comes out, but I definitely do have some questions I would like to have him answer. But again, as always, thank y'all for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed the review. Thank you.